Welcome to yet another walk and talk. Yes, I'm on that Buzz Lane Road again. So let's start with the 2003 season of Alton Towers. Okay, so you must watch my last video where I talked a bit about Alton Towers. So now I want to talk about the first season. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I don't want the video to be too long. But you see, when you work at a theme park, you have to go through so much training, which I did mention briefly before. So when you start a new season, you got the training, you got the team building training, where you have to work with each other, see if you can get on with each other, see what your weaknesses are, your strengths are, and it's. At first it was very like, oh my God, what's happening? You know, you're all in a room with all these people, doing the puzzle solving and stuff like that, Sudoku and little things like that, trying to work together, which is part of the main job at Alton Towers. You have to work as a team, or you can't really stick it there if you can't do that. So the training was alright, it was good. I showed you to the area where I was in Ugland. Don't know what it's called now, but it was Ugland, next to where the corkscrew used to be. So I was the games was Sokosaurus game, which is water balloon fighting. Basketball, typical. Ugbasha, where you have to hit this metal thing and get high score kind of thing, and there was Derby, which was the racing game where you have to get these dinosaurs to race across the track. What else? There was a few other games, but the games changed over the years. Oh yeah, there was Sabertooth Shy and Rock Shot, which only lasted a few years. But some games used microphones, some games it was just using your voice, but the microphones. The games like basketball, Sokosaurus, that kind of stuff I was on mostly. And Sokosaurus was, you had to float water balloons, it was catapults to... In the summer it was good, but in the winter and that lot it was closed. In the summer you wanted to work there because you could just cool down with water and stuff, Entertaining, yes, entertaining. The first customers I had on that is, you're not going to believe this, but it's S Club 7 Juniors. This was in 2003, They'd be a lot older now, they wouldn't be juniors now, would they? Those are the first customers I had. The first season was very, as I say, stressful because it was something new. Each area of Alton Towers had its own games and rides, of course. You had Sector, you had other places, and you could get sent to different areas to work in, which sometimes is stressful because I had to get a staff bus, and the staff bus left, depends on what time the park closed, but if you miss your staff bus you couldn't get back, and Stafford is about 20 odd miles away. So when you worked for a different area you had to hope you'll get the staff bus because they closed at different times. So that was a tricky one. So when I got sent to Merry England and stuff like that to work there, it's close to the entrance, so you could get the bus no problem. You just had to make sure you left on time. So, but the games itself were entertaining, but the stressful one was getting people to play the games, getting people to spend the money, getting people to, have fun if they win or lose. And I was way out of my comfort zone. Don't forget, I applied for the job working in admin, not as in games. And originally, games, I just got chosen for the interview for games. So the first few months was a different lifestyle, different. But I must admit, the amount of times I felt like I wanted to quit, felt no, it's not for me, it's not for me. But I stuck it out, you know. And by the time, halfway through the season, when it comes to summer, when you had tens of thousands of people on park, you appreciated the job, you appreciated, you know, making people smile, making people laugh. You got to really concentrate more on the job rather than anxiety and stress kind of thing. As I said, to work at Alton Towers, you need to be a team player. You can't, you know, if you're an introvert, whatever, you know, you've got to be able to work with people, bond with people, have a laugh. Because Alton Towers is your social life and life, because the hours you work there, and by the time you get back home and come back again, home is just a bed, you know. So it does get a bit emotional, as in that kind of stuff, because I didn't have a wife or girlfriend at the time. So I didn't have the stress of not being home on time and stuff like that, you know. It was a tricky one. But the first season was a struggle. But the people I worked with were really good. I made some good friends. The management was great at the time. Because I'm such an empath and a good kind of hearted person, I was told that be careful, people could misuse your friendship and kind of things like that. So yeah, working with people was great. Made some good friends. By the end of the season, I still doubtful whether I'll go back or not, but because it was, you know, I had to go back on because it's only seasonal. You work in April till November, sometimes March till November. But when the season finishes, you're unemployed. But people could apply for the jobs in the hotel over the season. There's people working on park to paint the rides, to fix ride maintenance. The hotels were running because they had their own little water park stuff. So you could still carry on working there if you applied for other jobs until the season starts again. So you could have continuous all your work. But I didn't. I just went on the dole, unemployed. Then back in it the following year. So once mid-November come, you're out to work. But you knew you were guaranteed to come back the year after. But you had to reapply for the job, of course. But because you worked there before, they wouldn't say no. Unless you were a nasty person, then they would say yes. But I was always a good person. Never broke the rules. So yeah, the first season, my overall thoughts were, you know, you spent your years wanting to work at a theme park. You know, you think, oh, well, it's going to be a dream come true. But when you do work there, it's not all fun and games at first, because it's not what you thought it would be. I suppose if it was in a different working environment, like if I was on the rides or admin, I'll have a different perspective of it. I used to hang about with the ride crew quite a lot, you know. But it is a lot different than you think it would ever be. You know what I mean? Like any job. You imagine that, wow, it's going to be fun. Yeah, 90% of the time it's fun. The other 10% of the time is like, oh, okay, it's not much fun, but you're there for a purpose. So the first season, 2023, what I learned was stick to it. Even though the times can get a bit up in the air, a bit tits up, stick with the job, because the benefits always outweigh the negatives in the end. Unless it's something that's causing so much stress and anxiety and depression, then, you know, and toxicity, then don't do it, you know what I mean? So yeah, I got to meet a few famous people the first year. It fazed me a little bit, because like, oh, there's a famous person that's walked past me or on the game, you know, and I could really list off the next hour of people I've met, famous people I've met. Some I've just seen, some didn't talk to, but you know, it's like, yeah, it's just one of those surreal moments. What I loved the most was the friends I made, the team working, looking back at the first year, building up trust with people you don't know. What I loved about Alton Towers the most was the way that they were strict with staff. Say you got on the bus, you get the bus journey there. Now and again they'll do random drug tests. Like they would stop the bus, dogs would go on there, search people, and they stick to their word. If someone is breaking the rules, they get fired straight away. There was no, you weren't allowed to drink the day before work, because if you turn up at work drunk, then that's a no-no, because you're operating right as most of the people. So, and they really stuck to the guns, and the rules were very strict, which was you needed to be, because it's a theme park and people's lives are in danger. So, you know, so I loved the way they were so strict. On games, you know, it's not the same rules, but you weren't operating rides, but you still had to be seen to be, you know, you were the eyes and ears and the face of Alton Towers, you know. The funniest things, you get people talk to you who would never think talk to you. There was an American family, this is the first year, American family, great guy, the guy was smoking a cigar, kind of like, you know, blah, blah, the American guy, you know, that. You know, and he could be famous, do not know. But his daughters were so gorgeous, about 20, something like that. And you just say that, wow, you know, your daughters. And it was just like them, but they spoke to you because you had a uniform on. You know, people who would normally cross the road to avoid you talk to you because you are wearing uniform. Going to work in the mornings and come back, you know, wearing the uniform, coming back, getting off the bus and going back to my flat. On the bus, people go, wow, you work at Alton Towers, wow. You know, you think, yeah, great. You know, that kind of, you felt proud to wear the uniform. You know what I mean? And, yeah, it's crazy. The last time I had that feeling was when I was in the RAF cadets, wearing the RAF uniform. You know what I mean? It's, yeah, I don't know, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of things that will surprise you or shock you working at a theme park. But at the end of the day, it's all positive, it's all good. You know, the first year was a massive learning experience. You see, another thing as well, it can change anyone. If someone goes to work there and they are, just say they're Asbo crazy, they would leave there being respectable people because what they learn in that year, you know. But yeah. I will talk about season 2 in the next one. But yeah, that was 2023. All good fun. Yeah. The end of season was a tricky one because you were saying goodbye to people in November who you must meet the following season, but you go to we have staff parties, you know, and emotional kind of things, because you're saying goodbye to people you might not see again. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. What else? I mean, I'm mumbling my words here, aren't I? I need to script these better, plan these better, don't I? But this was 20 odd years ago, 22 years ago now. Memories are all there, but it's just wording it. You know what I mean? The stuff, let's just say, okay, my morning routine was wake up at 5 in the morning in Stafford, in my flat. Start walking to Stafford Town Centre, 6:30, get there at 7. The staff bus was at 7:30 by Sainsbury's at the time. And the bus got to Alton Towers about 9ish in the morning. And then you go and have your breakfast in the canteen. And then you start work at 10 or 12. So even if you start at 12, You've still got to get this 7:30 buzz and get up early, but you don't clock on until you leave to go to work, so to leave the canteen. So if I start at 10, I would have an hour rest. Then if I start at 12, I've got 3 hours in the canteen waiting. So yeah, you don't get paid for them days, then that time though. So that's what I mean with social life. Then beginning of the year, you close at 5 o'clock. Staff buzzes at 6, get back to Stafford at 7:30, get back to my flat about 8ish in the evening. A few hours, go to bed, wake up, do the same. Monday to Friday, sometimes Saturdays. Then when it comes to summer, this was where it got tricky. You still wake up at the same time, but you do start at 10 o'clock most of the times. You finish at 7 in the evening, get back to my flat at about 10 at night, then wake up, do the same again, 5 and blah, blah, blah. So my flat was just my bed, you know what I mean? So good job I didn't have any girlfriends or anything like that, because it would have been tricky to keep the relationship. So yeah, so that was my morning routine. That was Alton Towers was my social life, you know. Out of season was strange because you got used to the pattern of waking up early, coming back late, and having time to yourself. But you didn't want to job search. You could job search part-time jobs, but you knew you were going to go back to Alton Towers. So that was the only downside to it, the hours, you know. And of course, if I had my own car, it'd be different. I could have set off and got there at the right time, but because I don't drive, blah, blah, blah. So yeah. And my breakfast there was hash browns with tartar sauce on toast. That was my breakfast most mornings when I got there. You had to pay for it, of course, so it wasn't that expensive. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first year at Alton Towers. Oh, okay.